All right, welcome back to the Friends Without Benefits podcast. We are joined today by Chelsea Osborne. Welcome to the show. This is awesome.
Hey, I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I know the entrance portion of this is usually the hardest part, and then
Yes.
the kind of conversation gets flowing. I know we've already been chit-chatting a little bit and
Right.
stuff like that beforehand, but tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your background.
Yeah, so my husband and I have been here for 6 years in Texas. We moved at the height of COVID. We moved here in May of 2020. And it was a nightmare because we listed our house before everything got shut down. So we were in and out of contract on a few things, but we came from California.
I swear, I think we may have left California like the same month.
The same-
Like it is,
yeah.
we moved out here in, I think it was April,
Okay.
very end of April of 2020. So
Yes.
we literally drove in together.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where we had been working towards it since November of the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, not knowing that COVID was going to happen, it was just one of those things that it just happened right at COVID. And we moved with 2 little kids. We have 4, but at the time we only had 2. It was 3 and under a year. There was nothing to do.
Really?
Nothing to do. And I used to work on an ambulance, and then I went into law enforcement here as a dispatcher. So I worked
really?
locally for a department. But that process took forever, right? You know how
Right.
it is. You have to go through backgrounds, and then you got to go through your exam, and you got to go through this. So like, we literally were just living out of a hotel because our house wasn't done being built. So for 6 weeks, we lived in a hotel. It had a kitchenette, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing to do. So we went to every park in the Metroplex. I've literally been to every park in the Metroplex with my kids because that was it. And we didn't think to travel the state because we were waiting for the house is done, come sign, come move.
Sure.
So we were in this really weird like space. But yeah, we've been here for 6 years and it's been great. We lived over not far, and now we live out in the country.
Right.
We've been there for a little over 2 years.
So what part of California did you move out here from?
Northern California. So do you know Sacramento?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually, my dad, one of his last assignments and stuff like that before we moved to North Carolina, we were stationed at Travis Air Force Base, up
Okay.
in Fairfield and
Yes.
Vacaville.
Yes.
So yeah, we're a little familiar, but we weren't huge travelers or anything like that when we were living up there. So
Right.
I didn't do a whole lot of traveling, but
Yeah.
either way, yeah.
Yeah, so Sacramento, it was great. I worked for a 911 company, AMR,
Okay.
American Medical Response. I worked for them for a little over 10 years. And it was all over my little stomping grounds. And it was great, and we had fun. But it got to the point after having the kids, realizing that environment was just not going to be for us
Right.
moving forward. And we were both making really good money,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like we could not afford anything. And we didn't want to, we knew we wanted to homeschool at some point, but we knew that wasn't going to be capable,
Right.
or not capable, but that was going to be available to us just with the amount that it was going to cost for us to both work and then be home, but not be able to be home because you have to work to be
Right.
able to afford. So it was just this weird, thing that we ended up having to work through, but it's been wonderful. And up until I was an early adult, I have nothing bad to say about California.
Right.
California was amazing. I got to go to the beach. I got to go to the mountains. I got to go to the desert. I got to go. I was only an hour and 15 minutes from Lake Tahoe. And
Right.
so I could go to Reno. My sister and her family live in Nevada. And so, I got to experience everything. It wasn't until, recently that the climate got to the point where it was like,
I could almost name the year. I think it was like right about 2015 is when things just kind of really changed for the state.
When Kamala Harris decided that she was gonna, start being famous for her little one-liners in Oakland.
Yeah.
I can almost pinpoint it too. But yeah, that was actually one of the things that pushed us out was the incident out in Oakland with the young girl who got stabbed I don't know if you're familiar with that whole story, but there's an incident where this young girl was in a parking lot and she was pulling out, and these people that should not have been here at all, they were, doing whatever they were doing in the parking lot, hit her. She came out, did the right thing, said, let's exchange information. I want to work with you. They got upset with her. They drove back around and killed her.
Isn't that just the wildest thing? Because, the same thing. When I was working in Bakersfield, so that's where we moved out here from, and I was a police officer out there, I saw a guy, and I had to end up plugging like 6 of his stab wounds because somebody stole his lawnmower, and he went after him. He's like, hey, give me back my lawnmower.
Yeah.
Dude pulls out a knife and then ends up shanking this dude. And I'm like, over a lawnmower? Is that what the state is coming to? And people are willing to die over that? It is absolutely wild. Yeah.
And I think for us, it was her stance on it. Like, well, they had a lot of trauma coming here. Bullshit. That little girl, she's 19.
Right.
She did not deserve to die. She was doing the right thing. And if you're not going to stand up for her, my kids are going to be driving soon, and you're not going to stand up for them, and that's a problem.
Right.
And so for us, it was the nail in the coffin that was like, what are you waiting for? And that was in November. And we went the whole winter just fixing everything around the house that needed to be fixed to get it on the market. We started looking at multiple different states. Texas was one of the top contenders.
Sure.
But it wasn't just like, oh, we're moving to Texas. We entertained plenty of other states.
What other states were you thinking? Because we were also doing the same thing and calculated like, hey, which one is going to be in the top tier?
Yeah. So we looked at Tennessee.
Same. Okay.
Yeah. Idaho.
Okay. We did not look at Idaho.
Yeah. We flirted with Wyoming, and my husband really wanted to go to Montana. I have family in Montana.
Okay.
I would like to claim that I've lived there, although I've never had a driver's license there. But Montana tries to kill you like 10 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm good. I want to go look at the snow. I want to take a picture in the snow. I want to say like, let's go vacation, but there's no way I'm shoveling my driveway. And we knew we wanted property. So I'm like, that sounds miserable.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do anything like that. But it's like a toxic relationship. It pulls you in those 2 months out of the year. And then, it's gorgeous. And you're like, I could totally live here. And then it just like murders you through the winter. And
yeah. That's how it was when we lived in Utah. It was the same thing. And it always seemed like the summers were really nice, very mild.
Oh, yeah.
Winters came. And I remember just heavy snow. We're 2-3 feet of snow, which probably isn't anywhere near as bad as Montana or some of those other states. But I do miss that. But then again, I was a kid, because now we get a week of snow here. It's perfect. It's what you can kind of tolerate, and then you're like, all right, I'm ready for this stuff to melt. We're
done with this.
Yeah, we can't really handle.
We'd like to move on with our life now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then so if you guys got here in 2020, we experienced Snowmageddon in February of 21, right?
Yep.
So that was wild. Because again, living in California and then being in Montana, it was short-lived. Like, living in it is different, all the time. So I remember I looked at my husband and I was like, I said I didn't want to move to Montana. Because we were snowed in, like rolling blackouts.
Right.
And I'm like, I said I didn't want this. We moved to Texas. Like, what's happening here? And of course, understanding the landscape and everything. But then last year was another year where it stuck around a little long. And we were on property this time. And I was like, all right, I'm done. These animals, I'm done.
I don't blame you.
Done with y'all. I'm done with the snow. So, yeah, but that was on the list. I think we kind of looked at, like, possibly Florida. Yeah. We did look at Georgia, but in the end of it, it was the humidity. When we settled on Texas, I was like, San Antonio. I want to move to San Antonio. Let's go to San Antonio. I'd been there multiple times. I love San Antonio.
Sure.
And my husband and my mom, because my mom obviously came out here with us first, and then my in-laws followed. They were about a year after. And no humidity. They could not do it. So that's how we landed in Dallas.
So they were saying the humidity in San Antonio was too much?
Yep. They were like, nope, too hot. And I guess I do understand, because when you come from like Northern California where there's trees and like we were in the Sierras, I could see them. Like, so I get a desert, dry, flat landscape is probably a lot.
Sure.
I don't mind change. Like I don't mind. I mean, the heat is the heat to me.
Right.
But I do like now being in East Texas, like I'm going to die in East Texas. I
Right.
never will leave East Texas. I love it out there. But I can see for someone how hard it would be. But my husband actually, he lived multiple different places. He went to high school in Ohio at a prep school, and then he went to Massachusetts and played hockey. So like he's been everywhere. So
Right.
for him, it also wasn't a big deal, but I think it came down to like the humidity. I think that was a little harder to swallow.
Yeah, and I feel like the humidity up here has been just as bad as down in San Antonio, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I lived down there. My last duty station in the Air Force was down there.
Okay.
But I will say, I think you dodged a bullet coming up here. San Antonio, I do like their breakfast tacos are absolutely phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
going down, seeing the Riverwalk is fun for a
Yeah.
weekend while
Yeah.
you're there. But for the most part, San Antonio to me is kind of I would almost say it's like a dying city.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of propped up by the military bases that are around there,
Yes.
and everything else is just kind of getting run down. There's not a whole lot that they're really pumping into that economy. Because I bought my first house down in San Antonio back in, I think it was 2013 or so, and maybe even 2012. And I bought it for like $150,000.
Okay.
And I sold it like in 2019. I ended up having to rent it for a while because I wasn't going to make any money.
Right.
I looked up the value of that house now. So I bought it for like 150. It's worth like 185 now. And
Oh
I'm
my
thinking,
gosh.
there is no way that this has only raised $35,000 in value in the last 10 or
That's
14 years
insane.
now. So
Yeah. I can definitely see it now. Having gone down there, taking the kids to the Alamo. That for me was the first time I went down there. I remember I took a solo trip. I went and visited some friends down there, but I remember sitting in front of the Alamo, and you know how you have those like pinpointed moments in your life where you're like, what the hell am I doing?
right.
And I just remember finding so much peace in front of the Alamo. And I was like, you know what? This is it. Like, I need to get to Texas. All the things that I want, I think are here and attainable and something that, you know, follow what I want to accomplish. So for me, when San Antonio was on the table, all I could think about was how I felt when I went to the Alamo. And now going back, I'm like, I love the Alamo. Like the kids love the Alamo. I mean, how can you not love the Alamo?
We're planning to go there probably here in the next couple of months once it cools down a little bit.
Yes.
My kids are learning Texas State history. We're going to go to visit the Alamo again.
Oh, and they're going to love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But like with fresh eyes now, I'm
Right.
like, yeah, Dallas was definitely the win, you know, and God knew what he was doing.
Right.
Obviously we looked at plenty of other places, and this is where we ended up. So
Yeah, when we were kind of making our decision as well, we were seeing a bunch of the different states. I've traveled a lot in my lifetime as well. Obviously, I knew about San Antonio. I liked living in Texas. I also wanted a bit of the different seasons. I didn't want it to be desert all the time. I will say I don't mind the heat so much because the heat is uncomfortable, but the cold hurts.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I didn't want to go too far north because it's freezing. But what ended up kind of deciding it for us was once I was leaving California, I wanted to make comparable pay. And Bakersfield is not a super high paying area or anything like that. But I was looking into Florida. It's like, okay, I went from, I think Bakersfield, I was making maybe about 65, 70,000 a year or so as a police officer. And I was looking for police officer jobs at the time.
right.
And so I'm looking at Florida. Florida's starting pay was like $38,000. And
Oh my gosh, that's criminal.
Tennessee was like $42,000. North Carolina was like $42,000. And I'm looking at all these different places, and so I'm like, okay, well, what about Texas? Let's look at North Texas. And
Right.
all of a sudden, Plano pops up as like, oh, this is the nicest city,
Yeah.
and like rated
Yeah.
within the nation. And I'm looking at their starting salary, and it was like 85 or
Yeah.
something. I was like, yo, I could actually make a little bit more starting
Yes.
out here. And obviously, it's a very nice environment. Take a much slower pace. And I realized once I came out here, it was a little bit too slow paced for me.
Yeah.
But overall,
Well, Bakersfield is rough.
it's very rough.
I mean, you get a lot of experience in just a shift.
right.
See a lot of things.
I think I got sometimes more calls in one shift than I did in 2 weeks in Plano.
I believe it.
So
I believe it. It's like working in Sacramento. Like I primarily was out of Placer County, And it was jokingly called the retirement county because it was a lot of older folks, and you had a couple really big highways. So, occasionally you would see some things, but if you wanted some real time experience, you were going to go work in Sacramento because Sacramento was a huge, it's a massive city,
sure,
but it's also crawling with literally every tax bracket, every ethnicity, anything that you could think of as working on an ambulance of like, what do I want to check off my box today? You're going to find it. And then if you're like me, a black cloud.
Why do you say that?
Oh, every shift. I was blessed with amazing partners at AMR. They were wonderful, but it was kind of like, oh, you're going to work with Chelsea? You're going to be busy. Because it was like everyone knew I was on shift, and they were like, I'm going to fall off my ladder. I'm going to roll this truck. I'm going to murder the dog. That's an exaggeration, but it was just like anything that could happen happened while I was working. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like I was always held over because we were always busy. And then sometimes I'd get to relieve the crew, because it's a 12-hour shift. So you saw those same people,
right.
And I'm like, what'd y'all do? Nothing. We slept. I'm like,
you're the only one getting calls.
Yeah. I'm like, what in the world? And I had this really sweet partner. His name was Joe. And, he was about 25 years older than me, and he'd been doing it a long time. Mm-hmm. And this poor guy, he took this shift because we did 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it was perfect because with the kids, they did. By the time they got up, I was halfway through my shift. And so it was really easy for my mom, because then I'd be home. And he was banking on like, get there at 3, sleep till 6:30, get up, have breakfast, maybe have a coffee, take a couple calls. Dude, like 3:05. We weren't even like in the bus. And it was like, hey, you could hear the tones going out. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And
already popping off.
Yeah. And then we'd be done. And then he'd be like nestling into his seat, with his pillow. And I'm like, no. And then I'd start to close my eyes and we'd get another call. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we did that for a little while. But yeah, I always felt like I was always busy.
So you were working 12-hour shifts then, pretty much for the whole time there.
Yep.
That was the biggest challenge, I think, when I moved out here, because I was on 410s.
Oh, okay.
And we get held over every now and then,
right.
but overall it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Working the 12-hour shifts here and having the rotating schedule to where it's like you're getting every other weekend off.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I would actually prefer to work every weekend rather than get every other one off.
Yeah.
With the opportunity that later I can have every weekend off.
Right. Almost climbing up in seniority to be able to pick your schedule,
right.
versus the revolving door. Well, it's just harder to plan.
Right.
So I get it.
I would say is the hardest part is the planning. And then plus I'm back on nights because I'm low totem pole, mm-hmm. even though I've been an officer for 6 years.
Right.
So it's like starting back over. Now suddenly, Jess is working. The
right.
kids are actually starting school. So they're at class, and I'd come home from work. They're still asleep. I'd go to bed. I'd wake up. They'd be gone. Mm-hmm. I'd leave for work. They'd come home. So I wouldn't even see them, 2 to 3 days out of the week. Yeah. And it just got to be way too much of a challenge with that awkward shift.
Yeah. I would say that if we had stayed in California and I had stayed with AMR, because of the kind of seniority I had, I probably would still be there. Mm-hmm. I was able to pick a really good shift. I was able to use my PTO. At the end, right before we moved, I had so much PTO that I was able to use. I was working like 2 days a week,
right.
using a PTO day, and then 3 days the other week, because it was 4 on, 3 on. Mm-hmm. So you had a flex day. Well, I would just take my flex day and the third day off, and I'd work 2 days a week. I'd still make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
But when we moved here, I was low man on the totem pole because of seniority. And at the police department, which I loved being at the police department.
Which department did you work for?
Rockwall.
Oh,
PD.
did you? Okay.
Yeah. And
awesome.
I love them. I still have so many people that I still talk to and keep in contact with. And, I sometimes when it's like real tough, I'm like, I'm just going to go back to work at Rockwall. But what sealed it for us was when we were pregnant with our third, there was no way at that point in my life with a newborn I was going to be able to go back to night weekends. There was just no way. It was already hard enough with 2 starting over at that seniority to function and be a good mom and a good wife and a good anything, because I was not calibrated, with lack of sleep, and they were 12-hour shifts and the schedule was different. I didn't have PTO to take off and have a really cush schedule. Right. So it just got to a point where like our family ended up coming first. And so I ended up leaving the department, and I think about it all the time because I'm good at it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm really good at managing chaos. Obviously, how it is. It becomes a personality trait. And I mean, one that I've been doing for a long time. So like, even in points of stress, my husband will always be like, you're not freaking out, or I'll freak out about the weirdest things, like things that don't make sense. And, but I'm good at managing that. And so, it's hard to find something that you've been doing for, I did that for 15 years collectively between everything. So it was really hard to find what else am I good at?
Sure. I feel like the dispatch job would have been very challenging. First off, I'm not good at talking. Like, I'm hardly good enough talking on these microphones. But over the radio, when you're high pressure situation, that's really tough to do. So.
Yeah. Well, and talking to the officers was easier than talking to the people.
Oh, for sure.
Because, I have a short fuse. So I'm like, I don't know why you're getting upset with me. Like, and it's different when I was on an ambulance and I was coming, to somebody's emergency. It was their emergency right then. And so it's easy to manage. But sometimes people will call for the dumbest shit. I know it. And I'm like, what are you doing wasting time? First off, don't be a baby.
Right.
Ridiculous. And then secondly, like, do you not have solving skills enough to handle this on your own? Like, I'm going to tell you what an officer is going to tell you. I couldn't say that, but I'd get off the phone and I'd be like, I'd be talking to the officer and he's like, well, what am I going to do? Just go over there. And I'm like, I have no idea. But they called.
I had somebody call me one time because there was 2 guys, right?
Yeah.
His boyfriend took his other boyfriend's shirt and cut his shirt up into a bunch of pieces, and it was his favorite shirt. So he called the police for that. And
naturally.
I'm like, bro, come on. Like, this isn't, who cares? This is like a $40 Costco shirt. Go get her like $40. I'm being real generous there. But $15 Costco shirt that you're cut up, go back to Costco. Pick yourself up a shirt and a rotisserie chicken. Call it a day.
Right. Yeah. Make up.
Stop calling
figure
me.
It out. Yeah. I'm not your babysitter.
Did you have any kind of wild calls? Like, I guess anything that kind of stands out?
I have a lot from working on an ambulance.
Oh, I bet.
I have a lot.
I bet.
I have a lot. Not so much from dispatch. A lot of it was just sad seeing the more criminal portion of it. I had, things that we saw from an ambulance, from a medical on an ambulance. You're being called to many different things, right? Whether it's structure fires or wildfires or, sometimes domestics or whatever. But a lot of it was just, accidents, accident prone. So seeing the flip side of that from a criminal standpoint, that hurt as, and when I went into that, I was a single person, no kids. I could really shut that off. And then as I got older, having kids humbles you. Sure. But it got to the point where things did start to eat at me. And it was really hard. And we had so we have 4, but between 2 and 3, we had a miscarriage around 4 months. Ooh. And that was devastating to me. Having dealt with loss and grief, that was a whole new level. And having children already, I did not process. I don't know how my husband's still married to me. I was like, I took every shift. I didn't want to be home. I was bearing my failure because it felt like a failure. Having a baby that late in your pregnancy, 4 months that's a pretty decent size, chunk. I couldn't even handle that. And so I took every shift. I took just stupid stuff just so that I didn't have to be home because it was hard and I had to face it and I was sad and nobody really knew what to say to me, and so it was just this really strange thing. So the calls, it was almost like a moth to a flame. I don't know what God was trying to tell me, but I got every single medical miscarriage call that you could get. And I had to pass it off because at the department, they didn't handle medical calls. You then transferred it to AMR, who took on and dispatched for Rockwall EMS.
Right.
So I had been through an EMD course for medical, so I could have categorized it if needed, but that wasn't part of the protocol with the department. It was you pass it off. So you did have to stay on to make sure that they got connected, that they got the address, because you had to pass it off, but they had to make sure, you know, there's just some things. And I remember at one point I was working with he doesn't work there anymore. He was another dispatcher. And one of the officers was in there too. I don't know if he would even remember this, but it was late. We were shooting the shit. That call came in, and I mean, there was something, it was like the third call in a week, and I had been back to work after, you know, all of that. And I was like, I have to go. Mm-hmm. I'm taking a break. I cannot. And luckily they both were kind of like stunned, like, okay, you know, and he ended up listening to that call, and he was like, I'm so sorry. You know, the whole department knew what had happened to me. Yeah. It wasn't a secret, you know? And so many times people were like, hey, how are you guys doing? Are you guys doing okay? And it was, you know, just something that we went through, but it was like, man, I don't want to listen to this anymore, because then who could shut everything off, was like, I can't, I'm like sitting here trying to hold back tears, and I can't do that while I'm talking to them. And so it just became this weird.
Sure. It's a weight that kind of sits on your shoulders that it's hard to shake past it. I feel the burden of that sometimes too, I was feeling the burden of that, and it's constantly dealing with the people who are on the worst day of their lives. Yeah. And it just wears on you, especially if you're going through such a traumatic thing. Yeah. It just weighs so heavy.
Yeah. So. It's definitely interesting. It was a weird it was a weird complex of emotions when I did leave, mm-hmm. because it was something that I knew in and out. I knew that industry. I knew I was good at it. I also knew I enjoyed it. I did like being able to, you know, assist everyone. I'm a helper.
Sure.
So I'm like, how can I help you? How can I do this? How can I do that? And so I did miss that. But it also was such a weight off of me, because I could start to see how it was wearing on our family and the kids and all of that. So
you stepped away, and what do you tell everybody, what are you doing now? When did you leave?
So I left in June of 2022. Our daughter was born in April of 2022, our third baby. After we had a miscarriage, we had our third baby. She was born in April, and I struggled my entire, your maternity leave, mm-hmm. which is different than California.
Right.
Yeah. I got like 8 months in California.
California, you stop working altogether. The state will continue to pay for you. That's pretty much the way they've operated.
Yeah. So, with 2 kids, I was home for like 8 months, and then they were like, yeah, you get 8 weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean I only get 8 weeks? That's crazy. So, so I'm going back and forth with, they were in the middle of a shift bid. I knew my shift was going to just be terrible. Right. And, it did. I was going to go back to work, and it caused a little bit of a rift between my husband and I, and we just didn't know how we were going to do it. So we literally, it was just living on a prayer.
Sure.
We were like, yep, can't do it. So I ended up taking just this little tiny job from this guy that he knew. And I was kind of concierging people setting up their electricity.
Okay.
And I got to work from home, and I worked like 15 hours a week. And at the time, in a 3% interest rate home, I could do that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a big deal. So I did that for a little bit. And then one of my really good friends, she's like, hey, my brother's hiring for this position at this sales job. And I'm like, I've never had to sell anything in my life.
Right.
Like everything has always come to me because, it's like, there's an emergency, just go here. So it was very easy. So I'm like, sales, I don't know. So I ended up doing that for 2 years. It was a great learning experience. They're a great company, Kamek. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. No. It's an outdoors company. They're kind of in the space for like off-roading.
Okay.
So they do a lot of like on vehicle accessories, and then just, you know, like your recreational camping hammocks and blankets and, you know, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a little bit, and then my time there came to an end. And that was after we had our fourth baby. We had moved finally after talking about moving to the country for all that time. It finally happened. And so I ended up not being employed with them anymore. And I mean, you know, mistakes were made. You get into this weird spot where
Sure.
you're like, should I have done that? Was that a good use of my time? So then I went and got my real estate license.
Awesome.
You know, and my mom's a realtor, lifelong realtor, really good at her job, realtor.
Yeah.
You know her, you've worked with her.
We met, actually. I think she was working at Gay and Homes, or I think they're Gay and Homes
Yes.
now, or something like that. And I walked into a sales office and saw her there, and I was looking for another client, and me and her hit it off. Like we sat there. I think we probably talked for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just kind of shooting the shit with each other. And you know, she's a great person. And we've maintained a friendship probably for at least the last maybe 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
And she's always been kind of my hype woman too.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
She's so supportive.
Yeah.
So she's awesome.
Yeah, she's definitely not one of those competitive people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she wants everyone to win. I think that's where I get it from, because I'm also like that. I'm like, I was literally just talking about this morning. I'm like, I want, like, if someone's like, hey, I need this done, I'm like, I got a guy for that. I'm like, here, take his number, you know?
Right.
Or like, hey, I really want this. I know someone. Like, let me give it back. I want everyone to win.
I feel like I'm the referral king for
Yes.
half of these businesses around here too. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a person for that. Here you go.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah, just call them. They're going to take care of you. It's
Right.
great, you know, and all that. So March of last year, I finally was like, listen, we've got cows, and that's awesome. I love cows.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit here and talk all day about cows. I love cows. But we ended up finding this rancher out in Marble Falls.
Okay.
He had 3 horses, and he could not really take care of them anymore. He was getting older in age. Things come up. Life happens. It's totally fine. So we worked out a deal with him, and I took all 3 of them. So I drove down the day after my birthday. I turned 35 that year. So I drove down the day after that. I borrowed a trailer from one of our friends. I'd never driven a trailer before. I've driven a big old ambulance. I've never driven a trailer before.
Pack some horses in that thing.
So he put a lot of faith in me. And so the day before, my husband went up to Hooten's out in Emory and got a gooseneck hitch put into the truck. Mm-hmm. Our friend dropped off the trailer, and I drove down to Marble Falls, and I loaded 3 horses into this trailer, and I brought them home.
Awesome.
And now I grew up around my family who had horses. I myself did not have horses. My parents put us in sports. So it was, you know, cheer, golf, soccer, whatever else. But my family, my extended family, had horses. Mm-hmm. And I spent a lot of time up there in Montana with them. And I always joke, I'm like, I was way too busy looking at cowboy hats to remember how they cinched up a horse saddle. So it was always done for me.
Sure.
You know, and so I had to relearn a lot of that information. I had to, you know, kind of pull it back in and be like, what do I remember from all of those things that I remember my aunt and uncle talking about? Because they raised and trained quarter horses, mm-hmm. and they would do guided elk hunts on the Colorado River.
Oh man, that sounds like that would be awesome to do. Like that would be like a dream job for me.
Right. So my aunt and uncle are really cool, and so yeah, it was very interesting, and it kind of gave me my first real push into, you know, country living, sure. Agriculture. It's not like they did a bunch of, you know, like I remember there was hay, but I can't remember if it was on their property. That was my job with my cousin. I had to go swing hay bales up onto a trailer during the summer because, you know, there's no lollygagging. You know, you can't do any of that. Like you go up and see, you know, aunt and uncle, and, you know, you're going to be put to work. So it was great. I learned a lot, and it was awesome. But it was mainly the horses. Yeah. And so we got these horses, and we just knew that 2 of them were not going to work for us. It was just, and one of them was a 3-year-old stud colt. So unhandled, had a halter on for maybe a couple months, but no groundwork manners. And I've ridden horses. I am not a horse trainer. I'm not a horse trainer. I know now more than I knew then, but I was privileged. The horses were tacked and ready. I just got onto the horses and then rode the horses. Like, I'm no Clinton Anderson, right? I don't know anything about that. So for me, that was just way too much for me to bite off and chew. And then the other horse, she had just had babies her whole life. And so she also was unhandled. And then the other horse, he was just not personality type.
Are they just too like aggressive? Like they bite, or is it just them kicking, bucking? What's the
So each horse is a little different because some buck and some kick and some bite, but not all of them do. And even if they're unhandled, it's not necessarily a trait that they all will have, but they don't know what they don't know. And they're a prey animal. So they're the most dangerous predators, right? Because it's almost like they'll kill you on accident or on purpose by accident, I guess, because they get so worked up. And then they're like, I don't know what to do. And then they just murder you. And you're like, dude, it was a tree branch. Like, why are we dying over this? But like, they're so big and they're so, they're just, they have a lot of strength there. And where a lot of people go wrong, and this is what I was trying to tell my husband, who grew up around hockey, right? So hockey and horses don't translate other than the first letter of the word. So I was telling him, I'm like, these are not dogs. They are not your best friend. I mean, they are. Like, Elvis is my best friend. Like, I adore him.
That's the one of the three that you got?
No, actually, I got him in October, which is a whole other story, and he almost killed me. So, but I love him. I love him dearly. So, but you cannot treat them like dogs, because in a herd, they will establish a hierarchy. And when we romanticize things as human beings, and Disney does a really good job of that, of like, your best friend is your horse. Okay, yes, there's a mutual respect there of teamwork and working together.
Sure.
But they're like a child. They need boundaries, because if they're in control, they make terrible decisions. They're awful. They'll just do things because either they're super pushy or they're terrified. And both of those things are awful.
Yeah.
So like, when you are working with a horse, there has to be, I'm in charge and I'm doing what's good for you. It's kind of like God. Like, you just have to trust me that I'm going to do what is best for you, even if you don't think right now. But a lot of people will romanticize this relationship with this horse, and this horse will get pushy and rude, and we call it disrespectful. And, it's a little bit of a give and take. So those three at that point in our life were just not going to work. So we ended up selling them.
Gotcha.
And then I was like, well, this is interesting. How does this work? And so then we started watching other people. They lovingly call them horse traders, and it's not lovingly, because there's a level of integrity that doesn't exist in the equine world. Sure. And then there's a level that does, just like anything else. There's the people who are in it as a Ponzi scheme for a quick buck. And then there are the people who really do value the traditions and the passion and the weight that, horsemanship carries, because it's a dying thing, just like rodeoing. It's coming back around thanks to Yellowstone, but it's dying. Our culture doesn't do that anymore. We don't have the necessity for it. So if you didn't grow up in it, it's really hard to get into it, because it's such a competitively niche area, know? And so I kind of started doing a little bit of research, and slowly started bringing on horses and then selling them. And I made mistakes along the way. And,
like we all do.
Right?
Anytime you get into anything brand new, you're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. But yeah,
you learn.
You're right.
You just learn. And I'm always learning. And I have a wonderful woman that lives behind us who I've picked her brain multiple times. And I value her opinion and her wisdom around horsemanship and around all things, because she's older than I am. So she's done all of the things that I'm doing. Sure. And I appreciate that about her. We also have our friend who let us borrow the trailer has been immensely helpful with like literally everything.
Yeah.
Between, what should I do with my pasture right now? And what do you think I should do with these cows? And so we've had this really amazing friendship, and I value his wisdom too.
Right.
Like when he tells me, hey, that's a bad idea, I'm like, yeah, okay. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know why, but I trust that you know why, and I don't want to do that, or that it's a good idea. And so I've been able to learn a lot of really amazing things from these people that have been in our community and been around us. But I basically took horse selling and I made an entire business out of it.
That's awesome. So it's going pretty well then for you, I would assume?
It's going well, but it's new. So like anything, where I started and where I'm at now doesn't even look the same. I mean, I was just doing like, hey, you want a horse? I have a horse. Let's make a deal.
Sure.
And now I have contracts. Now I have like books of what horse has gotten what service and how much we've put into them and where they've been and what I've done with them. I've cataloged all of this to basically create like a profile for them.
Sure.
And it came with like, there's two different incidences. So one, as me as the seller, I had this adorable black mare. That's a girl horse. Do you know anything about horses?
I know that they can kick you in the head. No, I don't know a whole lot about it. I've ridden one horse my entire life.
Okay.
And it was down in Arizona. I was taking this thing. They take you through like kind of like a guided thing through this canyon.
Yeah.
I think we were riding this horse for maybe two or 3 hours. I've never been on a horse before. The next day, I went skydiving. And when you're sitting there, and I'm like, the next day, I'm like, oh man, my inside of my legs, everything's hanging, and it's hurting. And all of a sudden, you're hanging from that, parachuting down. I couldn't wait to get onto the ground just because I was in so much pain from this horse riding. But that was my only experience riding horses, which it was awesome. Like I had a great time with it. I would definitely do it again.
Yeah.
I just have never really had much of the opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
well, come out and you can ride again.
Okay.
And the kids can ride too, and your
that'd
wife.
be awesome.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
just
sure
make it a whole thing.
Absolutely love that. Yeah.
So, so you know where the food goes in and the poop comes out.
Sure.
You know more than most people, so you're good. So I had this adorable little black mare. We were sold that she was 12. That's what they told us.
Okay.
Now, there are ways that you can tell their age. Some of them are by the way that their face looks. Right above their eyes, they get like this kind of indentation the older that they get. And it's just natural, just aging. Just the same way, I have gray hair now because I'm aging. But the biggest thing is if they're not registered with like a birth certificate, you can look at their teeth and you can age them on their teeth. Well, I'm not good at it. So don't ask me to do it. Don't send me pictures. Don't be like, how old do you think this horse is? I'm going to be like, I don't know. It's alive. It looks pretty good.
That's how I judge my dog's age too, by looking at their teeth.
Yeah, looking at their teeth. So like, but I'm just not good at it. So at the time when this guy was like, yeah, she's 12, I'm like, cool. And I'm a trusting person. I want to believe that people are not like purposely trying to lie to me.
Sure. But
so,
well, let me ask you, what's the average age for a horse? I don't know.
So if you take really good care of them, they can live to like 35.
Oh, really?
I've got a horse at home that is 35. I've had him vet aged and he was starved and abused. So we've put on 250 pounds. He was literally, his name is Bones because when he came to me, he was literally Bones. And he's looking so much better now, but he's, we're feeding him really well. He's got, 6.5 acres in the front pasture to do whatever he wants. Sure. He gets the rest of the 18 whenever he wants. So he's living his best life. Now, some of them, they are broke too early. They get injured and then 5, 6, 10. I mean, depending on the horse. And then that's a whole other thing. I mean, you can sell them to a slaughterhouse and they'll take them across the border and make them into dog food.
Right. So they said 12 years old. So you're assuming this is pretty young.
Yeah.
Young
I'm
horse
thinking like, okay, great. She's like the perfect age. She's not a toddler where she's gonna just be upset about something and buck you off for no reason.
Yeah.
But she's not like an old lady either. She's like in this good area. She had a baby. So I'm thinking like she's calmed down a little bit, So we get her feet trimmed. We ride her for a little bit. She's great, super cute, all black. And that's like a big thing. People like all black horses. So I posted her for sale. I had some guy message me immediately and he was like, please call me. Like, I'm going to come get this horse tonight. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I call him, nicest guy ever. He literally works on a ranch with 40,000 cows and they push the cows daily. So he needs a horse.
He's herding.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, dude, like this horse is going to live its best life.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. So he comes out, gets on her. It's pitch black. It's like 9:30. He drove like 4 hours and she's lame, completely lame, like taking hard steps in the front. Like,
really?
It's, yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute. I just rode this horse yesterday. Like, what is happening? So we're standing there and he goes, I love this horse. I've been dreaming about a black horse my whole life. What will you take for her? I took exactly what I bought for her. So I was out. All of the other stuff that I had done for her, I was out, all of that. And I say Cody and I as a whole, but
sure.
He works. So like, this is my thing. So I just say I a lot, but he's on it too. So I'm mortified. I'm so sorry. I swear I would have never have let you come out here. I would have never have let you bring your pregnant wife out here and drive 4 hours if I knew, I swear. And he's like, no, I get it. You know, it happens. They're animals. Like, she could have done that in the pasture. I have no idea. So the next day he calls. He goes, I took her up to the vet. She has a massive abscess in the bottom of her foot.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, and now I internally, because I'm a chronic people pleaser and I'm an overanalyzer and an overthinker, and I really want everyone to be happy. I'm like, first off, this horse has been in pain. And I've just been living my own life. Like, oh, she's perfect. There's nothing wrong with her. Like, what did I miss? What was I not looking at? What was I not seeing? And then this guy probably thinks I'm an asshole. Like, that she sold me this. And so I'm freaking out. And I'm like, how can I make sure that this never happens again? So that was the first horse that really humbled me, where it was like, I got to change the way that I look at these horses and how I do a little bit more. I want to do better. I want to be better. I want those people to refer me. I want them to think like, oh yeah, Chelsea's got horses. You know, go buy one of her horses. They're great. They're amazing. You know,
and they're nice horses that are well taken care of, and it's going to last you a while.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. So I'm over here racking my brain. So then another horse comes up, and I get him from this girl who I've talked to multiple times, and I think she probably got lost in all of her horses that she had, and she kind of mixed up the two, but she said one thing and that one thing hadn't been done. Well, I sold this perfectly gorgeous horse to my friend. It was everything that she had been looking for. And I try not to buy for people because it always bites me in the ass in the end. Like, I'll help you find your horse, but I'm not going to buy you what you want, because then when I give you what you want, you don't want it. It's just how it goes. And it's so annoying. And I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I saw this horse and I go, this is what she's going to like. I know she'll like this horse. He's young. He's great. And he passed a kind of like a physical. They call it a pre-purchase exam. So we took him up. Vet went over everything. And he goes, yeah, this horse is in really good condition. You know, great. So like 2 weeks later, she goes and gets his teeth floated, which is literally this barbaric act of putting this bit in their mouth, and it opens up their mouth, and then the dentist will shave down their teeth, because in the wild they would do it naturally, but you know, they're domesticated. So they have some of those same skills, but it's just different in how people feed them. And anyways, that's a whole other conversation. But she goes, this horse hasn't had its teeth done. You're supposed to get it done yearly. He hadn't done it. And so I'm over here like, oh my God, my friend probably thinks that I hustled her. That I'm like, I did all this stuff and I didn't. Yeah. So I'm freaking out because, again, the chronic people pleaser and the overanalyzer in me is like, so then I'm like, all right, guess what we're doing? So I take this whole thing. I'm pissed. I'm irritated. I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. Everyone, when we purchase them, is going to the dentist. They're all getting their teeth done. And it's not cheap. It's expensive.
How much would that be for the teeth?
So typically I have a really amazing dentist, which I will hand out anyone her number if you want it. But her name's Tina. But she, with sedation, she gives me, it's about $125.
$125? That's great.
Yeah, with sedation. Yeah, there are other people who are about $150, $175. So I've even seen $200. I think it depends on their schedule, or, like you probably in real estate, you have your prices and other people have theirs. And
sure.
So I get it. So anyways, Tina's amazing. I love Tina. She's another person. They're like, you need an equine dentist. I'm like, Tina.
A shout out to Tina, because I'm going to tell you, for $125, I can't go get my teeth cleaned for $125 for somebody else to do that to a horse's teeth.
Yeah.
So
maybe we should see if she could do ours.
Yeah. I mean,
just open up and be like, hey,
go,
can you just make sure everything's okay in here? That'd be great. So
a couple cavities, but all right.
Yeah. But as long as, you just get eyes on them, you
right.
can just baseline them, make sure they don't get any worse. But so then I was like, okay, so we're doing that. We're doing vaccinations. We're doing farrier appointments. If they need shoes, we're going to get them. If they just need a trim, that's fine. We're doing everything. And then I decided I'm going to start leasing, because a lot of these horses are worth more than what people can afford, because a lot of people will not be like, yeah, just put it on your credit card.
Sure.
Because you're just paying them. I created an entire business so I can take a credit card.
That's awesome. Okay.
So it allows people to be like, hey, this is great. I can afford this, but I can't pay you in cash. Right.
Right.
But for people to look at a horse and say, I may not click with you right away. I want to lease to own you. I have a whole contract. I have a whole thing of what your expectations are as the buyer, what my expectations are as the seller, and a way of protection. But that started a whole new conversation around branding. Mm-hmm. So now we brand all of our horses, which has been really interesting, because now people are like, hey, I've seen that brand before.
Oh, cool.
Hey, I've seen a horse that also has that brand. And now, since March of last year, we've had 31 horses come through our ranch.
Oh, wow.
And I've only really broke even or lost on about 3.
Really?
I'm not making $100,000, but I am purposefully placing them with people that are going to do what they're intended for, because not every horse is going to barrel. Not mm-hmm. every horse is going to mounted shooting. Not every horse is going to be a kid's horse. Not every horse is going to do that. And so I want to make sure that they're not ending up at the auction, that they're getting a good life. They deserve it too. They're animals who are working for us. They're right. humbling us by allowing us to be on their back.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't want us there, they wouldn't. Like Elvis. He told me very quickly. He's like, yeah, get off. So
that punk Elvis.
Yeah, I know. Elvis.
So where do you suppose you see the business kind of growing to? What's your plan and your ambition for it?
I mean, ideally, I'd love for people to come to me specifically for the horses that I have, but know that I'm going to give them every piece of information that I have about them, and it's going to be true and trustworthy information. Obviously, I just want to be an owner.
Yeah.
Like, I have my horse that I love dearly, and I love him, but I don't need to show them or do all of that stuff, but I just want to be the owner. I want, like, did you ever see Secretariat? The movie with Diane Lane?
I would have to probably go back, and I'm sure if I watched the clip, I feel like I have, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, you should definitely watch it. But Diane Lane
I saw Seabiscuit.
Yeah, okay. So, but like the owner, Jeff Bridges, he's like the owner. Like, he doesn't ride Seabiscuit, but everybody knows who owns Seabiscuit. So kind of the same. I want to be the owner. I want to facilitate everybody's dreams coming true. I want the people who are buying the horse to be happy. I want the horse to be at a place where I'm feeling like, hey, this is a good fit for you. Mm-hmm. But I just want somebody to look at the horse buying industry, because it's got a lot of bad rap around it.
Sure.
For people who are quick sell, lying, I mean, like, to take it to Elvis, I was hustled.
Right.
I was hustled.
Were you?
I was hustled.
You got taken?
So So like, I don't want that to happen. And I definitely don't want that to happen to kids, because that happens a lot. People will be like, oh my gosh, I see this horse. It's riding around. Like, it looks like you did such a good job. And like, is it a kid's horse? I'm like, listen, I'm not putting my kids on this horse.
Yeah.
You are a free American adult. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm saying it's not a kid's horse. I'm not putting my kids on it. If you think that your kid is handy and capable and all these things, then go for it. But I'm not selling it as a kid's horse. I would not advise that you put a child on this horse. But again, you can do whatever you want. I'm not here to, I mean, you know, what am I going to do after it leaves my property?
Right.
What can I do? You're going to make your own decisions. So I just kind of leave it at that.
And I assume that there's a bunch of different types of breeds of horses and stuff that is probably better suited for certain ages and stuff like that. What would be a good, like, kid's horse? What would you kind of recommend?
So it's not even necessarily a breed, although there's a cold breed, which is your big draft Clydesdales, Budweiser horses.
Right.
You know, they're made for working. They're typically a little slower, but they're big. And then you have your warm bloods, which is a cross between a hot-blooded horse and a cold-blooded horse, which is like your quarter horse, your American quarter horse. And then you have your hot-blooded horse. That's thoroughbred, an Arab, which in my opinion is the ugliest horse on the planet. I see those horse faces and I'm like, oh God, only a mother could love that horse. But it is what it is. So I wouldn't even say, I mean, obviously I wouldn't want to put a kid on a thoroughbred racehorse, especially an off-the-track one. That
Right.
sounds like a terrible idea. But anything under like 12, that's a risk. That's a big risk. I
It's
mean,
just a temperament kind of situation.
they're babies.
Yeah.
I mean, like in their brain, they're literally babies. And if you haven't subjected them to the world, they are scared and skittish. They're a prey animal. Everything has teeth. Everything. And even something that they've seen 300 times. You walk by in the same spot. And then all of a sudden they're like, ah. And like Elvis is 16, 2.5 hands, which means that he's 5'9" at the withers. I cannot even see over my own horse standing next to him. He's massive.
Oh.
So when he decides that he's going to spook and he scatters on me and does this amazingly acrobatic, athletic movement, and I fall off because he's scared over something we've seen 1,000 times, it hurts.
Oh, I bet.
So when you have a horse that's young, athletic, healthy, and you put a kid whose frontal lobe isn't developed on that horse to then go, I have to pull to this side and I have to remain calm and I have to engage my core and I have to be all of these things to settle this horse back down, they can't. It's nearly physically impossible and mentally impossible for a kid to do that. So you need something like 1 foot in the grave. I put my kids on lame horses because if they're lame, they ain't running off.
That's probably the smarter idea right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that's like double or triple their age is mine. So it can be any breed as long as it's like our oldest son is 10. He's riding a 20-year-old horse right now.
Okay.
20 years old. He's got enough know-how, but he's like, I don't really want to. I could if I wanted to, but I don't. And that's the kind of mentality I'm looking for when I'm looking for a kid's horse.
Yeah, because I feel like my kids, they're a little bit on the tamer side, and they're very cautious. I'll give them that. They're very cautious kids. So I'd love to be able to put them onto something. They're more of the pony riding kind of kids, probably to start out. But I don't know. I feel like my daughter would probably take to it like that. She'd be all about it. But my son probably not. So something a little calmer, obviously, I think would be probably ideal. So.
Yeah. Well, and for the nervous system of the parents. Like I hear it all the time. I'll post a horse, perfect age for a kid. My kids have been riding it. I've had a couple run through about 18 to 22, and people will say, well, I'm looking for something, around 3 for my daughter as a step up horse. Oh, well, how old's your daughter? Oh, she just turned 5.
Oh.
And I'm like, do you hate your child? because it feels like you do. But again, it's that romanticized Disney princess dog relationship. Like people buy dogs all the time. Like, we want this dog to grow up with the kids. The family dog died when they were 2. And we want a dog that's going to take them through their teenage years, you know, whatever it is. This is not that.
Right.
It's not that situation, but people believe that it is. And so my personal rule is double or triple their age. I mean, we just, and really, if I get on the horse and I'm like, oh, you're still spicy.
Yeah.
You're not getting on the horse. Because if I can't do it, you can't do it. Right. You know, and they're going to outride me in a couple years. They're going to be better than me. That's the whole idea. I want them all to be better than me in every single way. But right now, as we're gearing into that newness of it, we're still kind of figuring out where their mental and physical skills are to be able to handle that, because it's different than driving a car. You know, this thing that you are putting your trust into has a mind of its own. And if it for one moment thinks that it can outpower you, or that you're not going to correct it, it will. And for a kid to correct a 1,200-pound animal, I mean, it's hard, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think that the kids don't know what they're doing. And I mean, like I said, my kids they're skittish. The only person who's a little bit more skittish is my wife. She's going to be the one who's like, I can't calm down. And the kids will be like, I'm just riding, you know. But I mean, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you that you guys have found something it's being lucrative for you, but it's different. It's different, and it's bold to kind of go out and do it. I'm going to be honest with you. Taking care of a horse, cattle, in any circumstance, you got to get up in the morning and feed those things. Like, I sometimes don't like to feed the dog. That's like that's their task. That's way too much work. But I mean, that's awesome that you guys are doing it. Do you have a shout out for your business? How can people find you, and if they're looking for horses?
Yeah. So, I have tried to do the whole influencer thing, which is so cringy because I hate doing all of it. And I don't really even know, like, I'm self-critical. So I'm like, I don't even know if I could put myself out there and be like, hey, here's the tip of the day, or here's this, or here. I only know what I've seen and what I've done. So I'm kind of doing the whole like funny reel type thing. Yeah. But I mean, Facebook, Instagram, I do have a YouTube. I don't use it for like long videos or anything. It's just for like the shorts, and then TikTok, obviously, which is new because I never had one before until we started this. Right. But, I know it's kind of weird because I bet if you looked at it, you'd be like, what does this person even do? Because I don't post a lot about the horses there because I'm self-critical. But I also am trying to figure out, like, what is the best way for me to go about this? Like, I really want to find the right people who are looking not just to see the horse and then possibly resell it, or, you know, I want people to be in that frame of mind, right, where they're like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. I just want to see what you have, but knowing that, like, you know, I'm going to give them a really good product. But we have a website, and I don't think anything's on it because I don't know how you go about being like, here's the horse for sale.
Well, what's your contact information that you're okay with giving out, and so you want somebody to?
Yeah, it's psalmsranch@gmail.com, and then any of the message buttons on any of the social media. That's like how you can get a hold of me, and I'm always answering and doing kind of, you know, stupid stuff. So yeah, I'm always on and being like, hey, yeah, it's great. But I keep all of our horse ads up on my page. Okay. So that way people can go through, and, you know, I try to keep it fun and entertaining because horse ads are boring, kind of like real estate stuff.
But are they that boring? Because I know real estate stuff gets boring because everybody's posting it because everybody's a realtor. Right. But I feel like horse ads would be completely different. I don't see horse ads at all. So if I saw anything coming through, I'm probably going to watch them. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, okay. So after this, go on to my page and read a couple of my horse ads, because actually that got me into a lot of trouble in the beginning. Really? Because people did not like it. I had this. So the first stud colt that we had, he was 3. He's a stud. So he's pumped full of hormones. I wrote the best ad for that. And I don't talk about myself very often in that kind of light, but I nailed it. That was the best horse ad ever. I mean, it was great. And I got so many comments from the Karens of the equine industry. This is not funny.
Oh, there's always the haters out there who are going to try and smash you down.
Oh yeah. I'm like, you know what? Just because it's not like bullet points of information doesn't mean that it can't be entertaining.
Right.
Like it can still be fun. Like, in fact, I don't like you. That's weird. Why can you not have fun? Couldn't you laugh about that?
Right.
Like, do you not watch anything funny, or do you not laugh about things? Like, are you not cool?
You ought to write like a review, but in the perspective of the horse, like, oh, I really enjoyed being at her ranch. Like, I think that would be hilarious. You do something like that, I think it would catch.
Yeah. Well, I definitely will have to do that, because I did one for Elvis, and everyone who knows me knows that I will never sell Elvis.
Yeah.
I even got mad at Cody the other day because in my dream he sold Elvis, and I was like, listen buddy, you better start cheating, because if you sell Elvis in one more of my dreams, we're gonna have a problem. And he was so like funny. But I did one where I put Elvis up for sale, but it was Elvis putting himself up for sale. And he was like, she just loves me so much, and she babies me, and she gives me all the treats that I want. And then, you know, I don't think I'm going to leave. And I thought it was hilarious. And the amount of people that were like, that's not funny. I'm like, yeah, it is. It is kind of funny.
Haters gonna hate, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. But anyway, I greatly appreciate you coming out and coming on and stuff like that. This was a lot of fun. So appreciate it. You come back out another time, and we'll have to do this again.
Do a update on how it's going, because it's not, I mean, it's pretty new still. Even though we've had a lot, I didn't fortify it until recently. So it's still a work in progress.
Oh, right on. Well, thanks for everybody else for tuning in. If you would, don't forget, like, subscribe, follow, comment. We'd love to hear what you guys think, and we will see you next time.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.